Hey mi gente, it's Julian Steve. You already know my name, but if you're new here, hey! Today we're going to be talking about my series that I just made up, and it's about being Latino enough. Today's video is going to be part 2 of the series, where I'm going to be talking about languages that we speak within Latin American spaces, if that's the right term to use, or within the Latino community. I do want to acknowledge that there are over 400 languages that are used within the Latino community. Some of them are not as popular as Spanish or Portuguese, which we're going to go in a bit more detail further on in the video. I do want to acknowledge that there are over 400 languages, but we're not going to be focusing on all of them because that's going to take a long time. Okay, mi gente? Okay, mi gente? Okay? We're going to start the video now. To start off, we're going to be talking about what is considered a Latin American country, while also talking about countries that are in between Latin American countries. Latin America, Hispanic, South America. There are different terms that may seem confusing to people who are not yet familiar. Before learning about the languages people speak across this continent, let me quickly explain the difference between these terms, as you will see in the article. Latin America refers to the region of countries in the Americas that speak Romance languages. These languages are derived from Latin, such as Spanish, Portuguese, and French. So in a map of Latin America, you will notice that Belize, Guyana, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, the Bahamas, and the Falklands are omitted. That is because those countries do not speak languages of Latin origins. Hispanic is widely used to refer to countries where the Spanish language predominates. You can also use the word to refer to a culture or people who speak Spanish. South America is part of the Americas continent. As its name suggests, it is the south part of the continent. Its countries are Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Then there is North America, which comprises Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Other countries from the continent are usually considered North or Central America, such as Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Haiti, the Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, and other Caribbean countries. I hope this breakdown of the Latin American countries and the continents that are in between Latin American countries, in case you did not know certain information, I hope this helps a bit. Now we're going to be talking about languages that are common in Latin America. Spanish is common in Hispanic and Latin American countries. Spanish is a Romance language that came to Latin America from Spain during the colonial era. It is widely spoken language in Latin America, except in Brazil and several other countries like Guyana and Suriname. More than 60% of people in the Latin American region speak Spanish as their first language. The countries where you should expect people to speak to you in Spanish are Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, Peru, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, and Belize.
Este es mi acento dominicano. Yo no voy a pretender que yo digo todas las S y las R's al final de las palabras, porque no es así que yo hablo, no es así que hablamos los dominicanos. Entonces yo voy a hablar como yo hablo y voy a poner subtítulos en inglés. Primero voy a empezar por qué yo decidí empezar mi canal en inglés cuando ese no es mi idioma nativo. Como todos ustedes saben, yo vivo en Estados Unidos. Vivo aquí desde hace como 4 años, 5 años, algo así. Wow. Yo me mudé aquí a estudiar cine en Orlando y cuando acabé me mudé aquí a Los Ángeles.
Speaking Spanish. Now, when I was growing up or whatever, I saw people like my grandparents. My grandma who speaks Spanish. Abuelita, si está viendo este video, hola, salud, bendiciones. She would be speaking Spanish on the phone con mis tías, you know, my uncles and aunts and cousins, like all of them speak Spanish. So for me growing up, I never looked at it like, oh my God, she's a black lady speaking Spanish. What is this? Like, it was very normal to me, literally. Like, I never thought about it ever in my life. I then began learning Spanish and then I started going to school. I've been going to school. I went into 6th grade, into middle school, and I don't know, it was just like I would speak Spanish and they would look at me like, that's coming out of your mouth? Like you speaking Spanish? Like you, the black boy, speaking Spanish? Like.
Number 2, Portuguese. Like the Spanish settlements in some regions of the continent, the Portuguese also conquered a vast part of Brazil and a small part of Venezuela and Uruguay. This part of the continent is known as Portuguese America. Around 206 million people speak Portuguese on the continent, most of them in Brazil, the only country in South America that speaks Portuguese as an official language. This is actually very interesting because I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm very surprised that Venezuela and Uruguay, I think I keep saying it wrong. If I am, sorry. These two countries, I didn't expect them to be like, I didn't expect these two countries to have a small percentage of people who speak Portuguese fluently, like as I guess the second language or first language, I'm not sure. The point is, wow, it's good to know. And of course, yeah, sure, everyone could learn a language at a different country, wherever, even though that's not the dominant language. But what I'm saying is, like, it's actually cool because it seems like they recognize these places of where it shouldn't be surprised that these people know these languages.
Tem vários tipos de coisas típicas, tá ligado? Pra mim é o maracatu de Pernambuco.
O maracatu, o que tem lá?
Mas eu sou de Recife, de Olinda, Recife, Pernambuco. O maracatu são várias bandas, várias atrações de tambores, tá ligado?
Gente chata.
Ok, por quê?
Não sei, principalmente aqui em São Paulo tá todo mundo sempre com pressa.
Eu acabei de perceber, eu perguntei um casal, falaram que estão com pressa no domingo.
Sim, ninguém tem pressa no domingo.
Não queriam falar comigo.
There are indigenous languages that are spoken in Latin America. These include Garifuna, commonly heard in Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, and northern Chile and Argentina.
Aliyangni Kangri No kapis Alini Kashani No kapis Alini Kashani. Sometimes we say Aliyanchu imainayan. Aliyanchu imainayan.
Guarani, commonly heard in Paraguay, Bolivia, Argentina, and Brazil. Amara, commonly heard in Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Mapudungun, commonly heard in Chile and Argentina, and Ashnanica, commonly heard in Peru and Brazil.
Toki noniro upahita Felicia Comanti. Iria isatia pai pahita era Marco Sánchez. Meka no poca que perani acá. Irimaki noñana tiro añanepe. Noñana tiro y canta heitiri maruni ashaninka apashi venta ko heitarañane. Era apashi venta ko tarotsi. Picoiri capiñana tero oka añane, tsame añana tero. Irota que no canta va que empirica picha jimeka yoka no shaninka. Ari amena ko heitiri per.
There are more languages that are a part of the indigenous heritage that are spoken within Latin American countries, but we're not going to go through all of them right here, right now in this video because, as I've stated, there are so many languages. We're going to move on to the next section. There are African languages that are spoken in Latin America. Before I identify a few of them, I want to read this passage from Brilliant Minds Connected. Latin America prides itself on being an ethnic melting pot. Since the days of the transatlantic trade triangle, people of all backgrounds have been drawn to Latin America and the Caribbean islands because of their significance as hubs of business and culture. One particularly influential group in this region were the enslaved Africans kidnapped as a source of forced labor in Brazil and the Caribbean. Enslaved Africans brought with them a distinct and irreplaceable culture that also contributed greatly to Latin American. One of their greatest contributions has been to the dialect and languages of the region. Due to its colonization by Spain, Spanish is the predominant language in Latin American. As African people were kidnapped across the Atlantic, however, they brought with them thousands of their native languages, including Kikando, Yoruba, and Igbo. As Africans learned Spanish, they injected the language with words they had carried from their homeland and created many distinct phrases that combined the linguistic traditions of both continents. The adaptation of European languages by Africans is a process called Pinginization, the process by which one language is simplified into an intermediate language when it comes into contact with another. Soon, Creole offshoots began to emerge from the Pinginized language, the connection of which is now referred to as Africanized Spanish. The African diaspora has done a lot for Latin America, and this includes its languages. These languages include Paniguero, commonly heard in Colombia as a Spanish-based Creole language; Garifuna, commonly heard in Honduras, Belize, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and St. Vincent as a mixture of Arawakan and Vicentean Creole languages.
Buseti nego hon sumutu logo ani kemuga uruwasan garudia abuda hoti hogo garifun. Nadeo ya New York. Luhali aliha hogo garinogo. Lurnage adume hama nagibrugo logo wanichugo. Logo ge walagat. Hisetino na fendo ni wanichugo luma walagati ladega.
And Haiti Creole, commonly heard in Haiti as a French-based Creole.
8, 9, 9, 10. And there you have it. Donc pour ceux qui parlent français, je sais que c'était très facile, mais il faut faire attention par exemple au chiffre 9. En français, on va dire 9. En créole, c'est 9. Il faut vraiment mettre l'accent sur le accent grave, 9, et non 9. Même chose pour le chiffre 2, on dit D, pas 2. And now,
I'm telling you, us Afro-Latinos have contributed numerous times to Latin America. And of course, we do not get as much proper dues when it comes to our contributions to Latin America, which also includes languages. This shows the evidence. I'm pretty sure not too many people know about this stuff, but I'm happy that I'm informing you guys. And of course, this is not enough. I know I can mention more African languages within Latin America, but as I've stated previously about the indigenous people, I didn't want to make this video too long. I know there are a bunch more languages, but I do want to mention like a few that you may have or have not heard of. Of course, other Latin American countries have contributed numerous things within the Spanish language and or Portuguese language when it comes to like certain phrases, certain words, certain pronunciations. Concluding statement and the outro of this video. While Spanish is the main language of Latin America, there are numerous other languages as well within these Latin American countries. And it's kind of crazy that Brazil be excluded when it comes to like their contributions within Latin America, specifically when it comes to the language. And yeah, sure, Portuguese is not the same as Spanish, but there are bits of similarities between the two. We do have to acknowledge Brazil's contributions when it comes to Latin American culture. I just feel like we do not as much in the United States, and we need to change that. I'm not sure about Latin America. Maybe it's the same situation too. But I do think that we need to give Brazil its credit when it comes to language, because Portuguese is a second popular language in Latin America. But as I've stated, it's predominantly known in Brazil. But we do need to acknowledge that Brazil has impact. And we do need to talk about the other languages, specifically with Indigenous and African Latinos. We need to acknowledge that these languages exist. We need to make sure we educate more people about these type of languages in Latin America, because I feel like not too many people show love to these languages, especially the African languages, because people love trying to exclude us Latinos, us Afro-Latinos specifically. There are certain people that love trying to exclude Afro-Latinos contributions within Latin America, and we need to change that. This is why I appreciate these articles that I've used within this video. Thank you so much if you made it this far in this video. I appreciate you. Be sure to like this video. Please comment. Please share, because YouTube is not sharing my videos like they usually do, but whatever. If I mispronounce any countries and or languages, I'm telling you right here, right now, I'm so sorry. I know I gotta work on that, but certain words in Spanish and or certain countries from Latin America, I've either A, have not heard of them until researching for this video, or B, I make mistakes. I'm a human. Yeah, I just want to make sure I mention that. Thank you and